G'day, listeners out there, and welcome to the broadcast. So today I've actually got a special guest. So one thing about politics is we talk about a lot about policies and about pieces of legislation like this, but there's actually a real world impact. It actually impacts people. So today I've got a special guest. His name is Ben Englund. He's actually president of the Northwest Greyhound Racing Club, and we've got a piece of legislation we'll be debating soon about basically shutting down greyhounds. So I thought it might be important to get the side of the story, which is about what it means for the greyhound industry, and also so people can get a bit better understanding of what greyhound racing actually is. So I'll just introduce Ben Englund. Welcome to the broadcast, Ben.
Thanks very much for having me, Shane. Great to be here.
Great. So just tell us a little bit about yourself. So you're obviously heavily involved in the greyhounds, being president. So how did that sort of come about?
Oh, look, I've been involved in greyhounds my whole life. It's a generational thing for us. My dad, Tom, is a long time participant in the industry as well, and he got involved a long time ago when in the 70s and 80s, and had quite a great deal of success early on in his training career as well, which sort of sparked on, I guess, the progression through the generations of his children, and we really enjoy it. It's a great hobby of ours. And we love getting away from work and being able to participate in that type of activity, and yeah, it's just something that's grown on us. And once you get the racing bug, they say you can't get rid of it, and it's 100% true.
So what would be your earliest memory of greyhound racing then?
I can remember, oh geez, I can remember going to White City with Dad. I can remember going to obviously Devonport Showgrounds a lot as a younger kid, and that was on the nights back then as well. And they were great times. We used to run around the parade ring of the harness club there, and we had a lot of fun there when we were little.
So when did you really start thinking about actually getting involved in terms of the training and the breeding and the? I mean, obviously you've had greyhounds around you. So tell us just a bit about that.
Well, Dad's always had an involvement and a connection with greyhounds his whole life. So I'm one of five kids, so naturally Dad had to have a bit of a break from training greyhounds when he had five kids. So there wasn't many greyhounds around, sort of 10 or 12 years as we were growing up. But when I got a bit older, and I think I might have been in college actually, we decided that a couple of mates of mine and Dad decided we'd buy a couple of greyhounds, and one of them actually turned out to be quite good. So we were very lucky there, and we actually had some pups by her, and it sort of all started from there. And then we leased a breeding female from Ricky Ponting actually, and she threw a litter of pups and one of them was called Windburn Wizard, and he won the launching pad in Melbourne, and that sort of set everything up. So
Right.
we were away after that, and then we started breeding heavily, and we purchased another breeding female from a guy in Tassie, and we were very fortunate with her. She had 3 or 4 litters, and they could all run, and we were very lucky in that regard.
So the winning the launching pad was the launching pad.
Was the
then?
launching pad? Yeah, it was it was a pretty new sort of. It was a slot race basically, so I had to buy a ticket to get in it, and it's a massive race now. A
Right.
few years down the track, yeah, it's a really big race now.
Right. So how many dogs have you got at the moment?
Currently, we've got 25 at home,
Wow. Yeah.
and they range from different ages, from about 4 months, I think, is the youngest ones we've got, to the older breeding stock we've got there that can be 6, 7, 8, sort of 8-year-old. So, and we've got some pups coming through that we're breaking currently, and a couple of race dogs there. Yeah.
So what's that process? So you breed the greyhound, you hope for the best, you start training them, and then what makes a good greyhound? What makes a fast greyhound?
Well, they're born basically. There's no great secret to it all. It's the fact that you're a better rower than me. Wouldn't matter how much training than I did, I'd never be a better rower than you. So it's just one of those things that it's a genetic thing. There's no exact science in breeding, although statistically, the better breeding stock you've got, more chance you've got of having some good performing dogs at the end.
Yeah, I remember from my ag science days, the simple equation: good cow plus good bull equals good calf.
That's right. That's right, and there's no different in this. Yeah, but there's no exact science, so you've got to make sure you've got all the things in your corner that you can. having the best breeding female that you can get hold of, and you can use any sire in the world now
Yeah.
with AI. So
So what, you're buying straws from
yeah, you can
all
buy
over the world?
you can
Or?
buy straws from all over the world, Ireland, England,
Right.
America, and most of the elite sort of stuff is Australian. Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Mm.
So obviously Greyhounds takes up a big chunk of your time. So
Yep.
if you want to just run us through like a typical week for Ben Englund,
Yeah.
managing life, family, work,
Yeah.
and Greyhounds.
Yeah, it's pretty tricky because both Dad and I are involved quite heavily. All the dogs are actually currently at Dad's place where we've built a lot of infrastructure and stuff there for them now. He's got a 5 acre property that we've got set up quite well, and probably half of it's taken over by the Greyhounds. Typically, Dad would look after the morning shift, where they spend good deal of time outside, and then they come inside to a walking machine and have a bit of exercise each on that for 20 minutes a day. And then of an afternoon, or that probably takes Dad 2 or 3 hours in the morning, really, realistically, by the time everything's done and cleaned up. And then of an afternoon, we both converge there again at 3:30, and we're probably there till 6:30 most nights. But if we have to go away racing or trialing or anything like that, I can be getting home at 3:30 in the morning, sometimes from Hobart. So it can be quite a long day.
So how do you sort of fit that in around work? So
I actually don't know.
yeah. So just tell us a bit about your work side of things.
Yeah,
then.
so I run a commercial plastering business as well. I've got some really good employees that are very capable. I manage most of the office administration and quoting and stuff like that, and go to site. And I've got a few good boys that are quite capable of running a small team around them. So I'm very lucky in that respect. That chews up a great deal of time. And that's why I can't get to the kennels much. I can, but I'd rather go back straight to work in the morning. Dad's completely fine doing what he does. He's retired, so it gives him a bit of purpose too of a morning. So yeah, it's quite tricky sometimes, especially when you've got to go away and race. I mean, we're going to go to Hobart. Well, I've got to be back to the kennels by lunchtime to leave. You're not getting back till if you don't get back till 3:30 in the morning, it can be a big day, and then you've got to get up and do it all again. So we're kind of lucky that we've got the two of us because I wouldn't be able to do it all. If I was working, plus young family as well.
Yeah.
That are getting older and starting to get into sports and stuff like that.
So what about them? Are they interested in the
Mate,
Greyhound?
they love it.
Yeah.
They absolutely love it. Yeah, I know Charlie's 5 now, and he pesters me nearly every night to come down. They love coming down to Pa and Lulu's place to have a muck around with the dogs, and they would come with me every night if they could.
Right.
But yeah, most nights it's the 2 bikes in the back of the ute, the golden retriever, the helmets, and off we go.
Right.
So, and they just let them loose down there, and they love it. Yeah.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit about the training. So you've got different dogs at different stages of training.
Yeah. So they're all different ages. Yeah.
But getting ready for different races in different ways. Like how much science and that is there to it?
Yeah, dogs respond to different training. Some can handle heavy workload, some can't. So the younger pups that are just growing up, they just spend basically all day out in a big yard that's 100 metres by 20, and they just do whatever they like out there. Once they get a bit old, bit of age on them, and they start to get they're play fighting with each other. They start to get a bit aggressive. So we have to split them up into twos, and then they've got 100-metre yards in pairs that they spend most of their all day out in those. They've got a nice little shelter of a night they come into and sleep in there. Once they get to about 12 months old, then we bring them into the kennel block. And that's when they get a month to settle into the routine. And they're working in some short yards of a morning just every day to do their fitness, to get their sort of everyday fitness into them and working them up to a racing prep. That takes about sort of 4 or 5 months to get them to the track from that point, because they tend to have a bit of a break as well. So you might start them at 13 months of age. You do a bit of work with them at home for a month, and then depending on how they're progressing, is when you go off to the track and give them a look at the track. So a lot of work's done at home prior to going. Yeah.
Right. And so when you go to the races, so like if you're going to where Launceston or Hobart, or
Yep.
so how many dogs would you take at a time? How many races would they have?
We've got a capacity to take 10. So I've got a van with 4 cages in it, and we've got a 6-dog trailer. Um, we don't necessarily take, we might take one, but we like to have a few to take. But, if you're going to Hobart, it's quite an expensive trip down and back, so you need to take 2 or 3 with you. Um, yeah, so we've got the capacity to take 10, but then that's enough for us to handle for sure.
Absolutely. So obviously you're very passionate about greyhounds. So how did you actually end up as the position of the president of the Northwest Greyhound Racing?
I actually don't know.
Yeah.
I just got nominated, and it was sort of right at the stage of where we were off the showgrounds. So
Yeah.
when the government sold the lease to the showgrounds, it was a bit of a tumultuous time there for the club, and a few people decided to step away, and that's totally understandable because it was a bit of a blow to us leaving the showgrounds.
Yeah, so just so people out there who probably don't know the backstory, so obviously you being greyhound racer, there was a local racing track at the Devonport Showgrounds
Yeah,
that was sold by the Show Society to an individual,
yep,
and then you thought that you had a rock solid contract for what, another 20 years, was it?
yeah. There was another
Um,
20 odd years to run on that leash. Yeah,
And then it turns out, well, I think it's still up for debate what actually happened next, but
mm,
you were removed from the showground. So greyhound racing and harness racing ended at the Devonport Showground.
yep,
So that's a massive bump in the road, obviously. But then you were promised a new track.
absolutely. Yeah, and I was part of the working groups looking into the new options. The Minister Jane Howlett, come to our place and assured us that we'd be getting a new track, and that's what everyone sort of banked on. Everyone continued to breed and invest, and it's a 2-year turnaround from breeding to realisation. So um, you need that surety and that certainty and that confidence to keep going forward, because you can't keep investing without any confidence in the industry. So that was a massive blow for us when the showgrounds closed. And it's still hard to have a look at it now when you drive. I drove past it on the way in here today, and it's still there sitting there like the day we left it. So
Mm.
that's probably the most difficult thing to comprehend, is that nothing's happened with that showground since.
So just let's get the timelines then. So what year did that happen? That's
That was in March 2022. We ran our last
2022.
race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then we've had this big project to build a new harness and greyhound facility here on the northwest coast.
Hmm.
And the option was put out there for Latrobe.
Yep.
And then it turns out couldn't do it.
There was a couple of swift parrot and frogs there that may or may not be there.
A threatened community, I think, was as well, wasn't it?
I think it was pretty difficult out there at Palmer's Road at Latrobe, and then it shifted to Mill Road out near the airport.
Yeah. And so that one actually progressed a little bit further, didn't it?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they had some groundworks designed, and
Yeah.
you were, what was happening then? Were you getting pictures of how the racetrack would be sitting on that piece of land? And
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I was quite heavily involved in that process. It was given approval by the council, and then right on the last minute of the last day, it was opposed by a member of the community, and that basically brought it all undone.
Yeah.
So, a $400 appeal really ended that for us at Mill Road.
But then also, I think that's about it was about that time that the government basically pulled support for a northwest track as well. So
Basically, because they realised that the cost had blown out so much.
Yeah.
We don't know where they got their $18 million budget from, but when it came up at $36 million or whatever it was, everyone sort of started to take 10 steps back from it all then. Yeah.
and that was coming from Tas Racing as well, was it?
Yeah,
That they,
yeah.
So you've gone from a green light, it's about to happen, to
Yep.
another disappointment. So first disappointment was the showgrounds,
Yep.
Latrobe,
Sprayton as well.
Sprayton as well.
So we had a design and construct tender actually put out for that joint. We were 99.99% of the way there. So and they pulled the design and construct tender a week and a half into the process, because Tas Racing realised that they didn't have any money.
Right. So there's another disappointment.
There was 3 disappointments
Yeah.
there, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
been a 3 years of consecutive disappointments, and now we've got this on top of it. So
So just tell us about that though. So like you had a minister, Jane Howell, literally come to your property and promise a track.
Yep.
And that didn't happen. And
Yep.
we've had a few different racing ministers too, I might add,
Yep.
over the journey. I think there's been 3 or 4 in the last couple of years.
Yep.
What does that actually do to the greyhound racing community when, for example, was there a big drop off when Devonport, when the showgrounds, when you lost the showgrounds? What sort of happened to the community? Because you don't have the meeting place. Did people drop out of training greyhounds and racing greyhounds?
I think what's happened, Shane, is the fact that because the confidence in the industry wasn't there, that people haven't continued to invest in breeding. So that's the breeding has dropped right off, and that's really putting pressure on numbers. So we need dogs coming through every year to keep the code running.
Yeah.
And because we didn't have that certainty of a commitment to build a track, that just dropped straight off.
So without a track on the Northwest Coast, what does that actually mean for you? It means that you need to do trials. Where have you got to do the trials? And
It means we've just got to spend twice as long in the car than what we needed to. So all that time that we're spending driving to Launceston, like I'll go to Launceston tonight to trial 3 dogs. I'll literally be there for 20 minutes and I'll be gone again. So you spend half the afternoon in the car to be at one place for 20 minutes. Now that's not just me, that's everyone on the Northwest Coast. And we are one of the furthest along the western end of the Northwest Coast. But that's put a lot of pressure on everything. That's been really difficult to manage because sometimes we could come to Devonport every Saturday morning without fail. Now, you want to go to Launceston to trial young dogs, that might not be so suitable for those dogs at that stage of their maturity. So the only other option is to go to Hobart, and those trials are at Saturday mornings at 8:30. So you're literally going to have to be leaving 4:00 in the morning.
yeah.
It's just not feasible.
Well, obviously it makes it hard for someone like you. You've got all that, the rest of your life to balance.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, are there many young trainers around now?
There's a few young trainers. I'm one of the younger ones. There's a couple of younger girls that are training down in Hobart, but mainly they're of middle age and older generations. A lot of people that are retired sort of are looking for something to do when they've finished working, so they jump into that. It's affordable and everyone can have a bit of fun, and it's you can have the kids around, and it's there's no the kids really enjoy it. They love it. They really love coming around the dogs and being around them.
But I suppose there's also the social side of it as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So they're meeting other kids whose parents also, or grandparents or whatever,
That's right.
also train dogs, just like you did.
That's right. Yeah, and they all converge on the one place for once a week, and relationships get built for life based on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I suppose we better talk about the big one, and that was the election.
Yep.
So obviously, we had an election, and there were a lot of promises made.
There were.
So I suppose we better talk about the letter. So we knew going into the election that it was more than likely to be a minority government of some description.
Yep.
So what were people saying about the Labor Party, and what were people saying about the Greens? What were people saying about the Liberal Party?
People were pretty confident in the Labor Party that they backed racing. We know that the Greens don't, because it's in their policy that they don't back racing at all, and we can be pretty confident that a lot of independents are pretty hard line against it as well. But when you receive the letter on behalf of all Liberal candidates.
So let's just talk about the letter. So this is a letter that, if you just want to show it to the camera a little bit there too. So this is a letter that you received as president of the Northwest Greyhound Racing Club.
That's right, yeah.
From the Premier, Jeremy Rockcliffe.
Yep.
Do you want to just read that letter out?
I can read that out for you. Dear Mr. England, thank you for your correspondence on behalf of Tasmania's greyhound racing industry. I have the pleasure in responding on behalf of all Tasmanian Liberal candidates. I know that the racing community, and more broadly the Tasmanian community, want a racing industry that is fair, humane and sustainable across all 3 codes, including greyhound racing. The government is committed to support the longevity and sustainability of the racing industry, which, as you know, generates close to $208 million in economic activity for Tasmania and which involves more than 6,400 people. Work has already started on developing a new racing industry funding deed to ensure the ongoing financial sustainability of the Tasmanian racing industry. I understand this is the industry's number one priority, and I recognise the industry needs certainty, and we will deliver that. Government also remains committed to providing funding support for training solution on the Northwest Coast once we have received additional advice from Tas Racing and other stakeholders. We'll continue to back Tasmania's racing community and the vital jobs in regional Tasmania and the many families and other small businesses it supports. Yours sincerely, Jeremy Rockcliffe.
So obviously you felt quite comfortable receiving that letter, that if there was a minority government, that
Yep.
Jeremy Rockcliffe had your back
Yep.
and everything was going to be fine, even after all the dramas that we've had. They mentioned in there about the Northwest Track as well.
Yep.
And what was the community feeling? So obviously you sent that around all your
I've
stakeholders
sent that far and wide.
Yeah.
It's gone to everyone, and everyone was pretty confident in the Liberal Party. But it's been there in black and white that they are 100% behind us. And of course, a couple of weeks down the track, he's all over.
So how did that, how did you find out that that the Liberal government were then gone from absolutely 100% backing in greyhound racing, including the future deed and a future track,
Yep.
to suddenly we're going to stop it? It's not going to be funded. In fact, what we're going to do is just basically kill the industry.
Yeah, well, I actually saw the press release from Brett Costello first, and then I received a phone call from Andrew Jenkins.
Right.
So it was pretty devastating.
So, and there seemed like there was a bit of a two-stage process as well in the announcement. First time it was, we're going to not fund greyhounds.
Yep.
And then it sort of morphed into, we're going to shut it down. So
Yeah.
is that how it came across to you? Were you still uncertain when you first heard the announcement that it was about the deed, the funding, or what did you know straight away that it was about the greyhound racing is going to stop?
It was reported a couple of different ways, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But on the broader sense, most people thought that it was going to be the funding was going to go, but then it was reported a couple of days later that they were going to actually phase it out. So it sort of says to me that they don't really know what they were doing, but they were just going to stop it some way. So, but when they start talking like things like this, it really starts to worry you.
So how did that ripple through the community?
Oh, mate, I think I was at the track following week, and it was just everyone was so flat. You could have dropped a pin there and heard it. It was just a really somber feeling, and it's a one that I won't forget. Actually, it was a really, really eerie feeling to go to the race course. A lot of phone calls, a lot of worried people, and still now, of course.
So what was the minister's response? So Jane Howlett is the minister, and she's also been involved in the greyhound industry, or at least her family has for a long time. So what sort of response did you get from the minister, Jane Howlett?
I haven't been contacted by the minister at all. Disappointing, yeah.
So I think that she's facing a fair bit of pushback from within her own community.
Yeah.
Are you hearing anything about that? Or?
No, we haven't been contacted by anyone from the government at all.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing.
So were you involved in the design of the legislation, or they've committed to legislation which has now been tabled? Were you was that discussed with the industry at all?
No, no one from the industry has been consulted at all about the legislation. They did ask Greyhounds Tasmania to go onto the working group, but they didn't really know what the working group was going to be doing. They didn't know. They knew they were going to be phasing it out, but they didn't know who, when, or where, or why. And then we asked for a copy of the terms of reference, and they actually wouldn't supply them to us.
Wow.
So it's pretty hard to go and jump onto a working group that you don't even know what they're doing. So, and for them to say that we had the opportunity to be consulted, it's completely wrong. They've just pushed this straight through. No one's seen it at all. We were invited to go and meet with Sean Carroll to be shown the bill. We had less than 48 hours notice, and we had to go to Parliament to do it, which I thought was a bit rude, considering that everyone was working and that would come from all corners of the state to go and see this bill. But it was very disappointing to see how it's been pushed through so quickly, and it just reeks of a dirty backdoor deal that's hasn't really been thought through at all.
So, and here we are. So this is the legislation. So this again must be another stake to the heart, really, what's
Yep.
actually contained in this legislation. I think
Yeah.
the thing that surprised me the most was how the axe is going to fall in January, really. If this passes
Yeah.
Parliament this year,
Yeah.
then the axe will fall on the industry, not in 4 years' time. What is it, or five? Was it 2029, the
Yep.
deed? So that was the original timeline. You'd be able to race until 2029. But when we see this piece of legislation,
Mhm.
there are some absolute booby traps in it. If you just want to talk us through your understanding of that.
The condition in there that there's no breeding from January 1, 2026 is a really big concern for us, particularly being breeders ourselves. Now, obviously, it's a strategic ploy to put pressure on numbers and stuff to get them down, but we all have kennel licenses for numbers of dogs that we've got anyway. So we can't all of a sudden just go out and increase our numbers drastically to accommodate a heap of dogs. I mean, everyone's got kennel licenses now in Tasmania, and they've got kennel licenses for the dogs that they have. So I don't really see why there needs to be that clause in there, because it doesn't really make sense to me, because there's no point in going breeding another 20 dogs when you haven't got a kennel license for 20 more. So, but most people are already at capacity anyway. So, but the fact that they want to put that in there really shows how committed they are to really putting the pressure on. So, and the other one of import and export of dogs, that's going to be another real pressure point for the industry, because a lot of dogs come in from the mainland, and a lot of dogs go out of Tassie to go to the mainland and race, and it's really disappointing to know that if John Smith's got a great dog that he wants to send to Melbourne to run in some of the big prize money races, that he's not going to be allowed to do it.
Yeah, it seems a bit bizarre.
Mm.
But it seems to me like they've got an issue with what's how many greyhounds do you reckon there is racing in Tasmania?
There was a number put out in the standing committee the other day of just over 1,000.
1,000 dogs.
Tasmania.
So do you think that maybe they're thinking that 2029 they'll have 1,000 dogs to rehome somehow? And if they stop breeding, then there'll be less dogs to rehome at the end. Is that what you think maybe it is? Or
Probably.
Yeah.
Because I did hear that Sean Carroll said that he couldn't confidently say they had the capabilities of rehoming the number of dogs that's in the state currently.
Yeah. So no breeding. You have to get permission to export the dogs. So like if you wanted to sell the dogs to the mainland, like I mean, you talked right at the very start of this broadcast about how you've got some. You managed to, I suppose, breed some really talented greyhounds.
Yep.
So what would that mean for you? That basically that would end for you, and that breeding would come to nothing because you
Yeah,
couldn't.
well, it would cease. Yeah, I mean, if just for instance, for example, if last week someone decided they were going to go and spend $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 on a breeding female, they've just purchased it, brought it to the state, and it's not really quite ready to be bred with yet, and it's a bit of a financial disaster for them.
Yeah.
They only come on season a couple of times a year, so if they're not ready, they're not ready. So you can't rush them. I just don't understand how that can be possible to commit someone from a bit of trade, and I just don't understand it all.
And I don't think there's been any discussion about compensation for greyhound racing
Not as
either.
yet, no.
Yeah.
Not as yet,
Are those discussions happening?
not to my knowledge.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you think the future holds then? I know that there's you're starting a bit of a campaign to
Yep.
try and get this decision turned around.
Yep.
Tell us a bit about that. How active are you in that?
Pretty active. I'm one of the members of Greyhounds Tasmania. We meet every week. We've got an executive based in Queensland, Luke Gatehouse, who's got a long career in greyhound administration. He used to run Albion Park. He's our executive, and he's built a fantastic team around him of people we need to make sure we can get this turned around.
So, yeah, what does that look like? Yeah, I suppose one thing about this piece of legislation is it tells you that you've got less time than what you perhaps thought as
Yep.
well.
Yeah, well, it was kind of a surprise to be for it to be sprung on us so quickly. So things have had to change tactic a little bit, but we're confident that Luke's got all the right people in the right places for sure.
Right. So, yeah, what does that actually mean then? So you'll be campaigning on this. Uh, there's going to be a massive, obviously, if this gets through, there's going to be a massive impact on the greyhound industry. But it's not just the greyhound industry, is it? Like, tell us exactly how the finances of the whole Tasmanian racing industry works, and if you take out greyhounds, what does that actually mean for the rest?
If you take out greyhounds from the three codes from the tri code business that is Tas Racing,
So that's greyhounds, harness racing, and then
and
thoroughbreds.
thoroughbreds, yep, it almost looks unfeasible for Tas Racing to continue in its current form, um, due to the fact that the greyhounds turn over, say, 40% of the revenue and get 18% of the stakes. Um, that money's subsidised into the other two codes. Now, that's going to put a lot. If we disappear, that's going to put immense pressure on the other two codes. And what we really want is the three codes flourishing. That's what we really need here. But if you take one away, and one which has proven to be the most economic, um, for instance, we receive $7.4 million in through the funding deed, return $8.1 million straight away in racefield fees. So we're a net positive already, and that's without point of consumption tax and things like that. It's pretty clear that if you take the most economical code out of the three, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the other two.
So, what are the harness racing people? I suppose they're probably the next cab off the rank. So, what are they saying?
Well, we haven't really heard too much out of the other two codes yet, which has been a little bit disappointing. But to be honest, I reckon they're just ducking for cover, because we know that these type of pollies that the independent guys that they don't want any form of racing here at all. So the next time there's a minority government come up, there's going to be another deal done. Someone else is going to go. That's going to happen.
Yeah. Do you think? Yeah. Well, that could happen, I suppose.
Absolutely could
Yeah.
happen. Which is really concerning because you're taking away people's privileges just for a few noisy minorities.
So, I mean, there has been a lot of change in greyhounds over the last decade, though, hasn't there? So,
Yeah.
it's not as if you haven't been responding to the community and what the community wants out of greyhound racing. So, there's been the rehoming programs,
Yeah.
there's been changes. So,
Yeah.
how has the industry adapted over the time that you've been involved?
The industry's come a long, long way. We were very supportive of the Monteith Review and implemented a lot of recommendations from that.
So, you just want to tell us about the Monteith Review?
So in 2024, I believe it was, there was a review done, which had a lot of recommendations made to Tas Racing, and Tas Racing implemented those.
So, how to improve racing across the board?
Yeah, and traceability and things like that, and welfare outcomes and stuff like that. And that's been great. We're all for continual improvement and reforms and making sure that everything can be as good as it can be. Obviously, there's still accidents in racing, and there's accidents in every form of sport, unfortunately, which is things that we just generally do not want to happen. But for the government to come out and say that they're going to ban racing because of welfare issues is completely false, because no one's been charged or anything like with any welfare breaches. So there's no charges laid, but there's a welfare issue on our hands. We just don't know where it is. So we are well aware that there is accidents that happen, and we do everything we can to prevent it. But sometimes these things happen.
So let's just talk about the level of scrutiny that's on you as a breeder and a greyhound racer. So, you know, the mandatory vet checks,
Yep.
you know, like what sort of scrutiny's on you to make sure that animal welfare is front and centre of the way that um, you know, you race and manage
Yep.
the greyhounds?
We've got about 20 different licenses, I reckon. So I've got an owner's license. I've got a owner trainer license. I've got a public trainer's license, a breeder's license. You've got to apply for all these things. Um, and your breeding females, they have to be vet checked before they're eligible to go off and have a litter. And there's all these conditions surrounding how many they can have per year and how old they can be and all these sort of things. So it's highly regulated. I don't think people realise how highly regulated it is. You spend half your time doing paperwork and admin for racing now. It can be quite arduous, but um, every time you go to the racetrack, you're vetted by the on-track vet there. Every time you go there, there's a vet there to see your dog before you be kennelled, and there's a vet on track if something happens, and you've got a spread of 24-hour clinics in Tassie now that you can attend if something happens late at night, and if anything happens at home, you can report it to Tas Racing, and
You have to report it to Tas Racing.
you
don't
don't have to, but you can.
Yeah.
There's the injury rebate scheme that Tas Racing have got. That's been fantastic. It's helped with the expense of getting injuries fixed, and but the welfare that I've seen, the welfare management over the last 10 years has just gone through the roof. So it's been really good.
Yeah. Obviously, like you've got the letter there from Jeremy Rockcliffe, and he mentions welfare in that, but it's
Yep.
not saying you need to, massively change what you're doing. Or as I can't ever recall Jeremy Rockcliffe mentioning animal welfare. In fact, I've heard him say the opposite when he's been asked questions in Parliament.
Yeah.
That, he talked like you have that the industry's come a long way and that have to meet community standards.
Yep.
And so on. So
yeah, we're 100% behind reform. There's no question about that. If we can do better, we will. But for it to be banned on the basis of welfare issues, we don't know where they are.
So I suppose one last thing we could probably talk about is what does your life look like without greyhounds? And what does the life of your father and your children look like if greyhound racing is banned in Tasmania?
I'm probably more concerned about what life looks like for Dad than myself. Him being retired, it gives him a purpose, gives him something to do in a consistent routine that keeps him active. And that's what I think's lost on all this. Like, there's a lot of old generation people that are involved, and it gives them purpose, and it gives them a sense of community, and they meet friends, and they have
that social connection,
similar interests, and it's really good for those people. Myself, I'm just going to have more time on my hands. It's going to be really disappointing if I have to tell the kids that we're not allowed to race these dogs anymore, and they watch the races at home like we watch the news. That it's the first channel that goes on to see who's racing and stuff like that. So they'll be really disappointed if this goes down. But yeah, really concerned for the older generation of what they're actually going to do with themselves if they haven't got racing. Yeah.
So, and finally, I suppose, what happens to your greyhounds? The dogs themselves,
Well, the ones that we got, they'll stay with us, no doubt about that. The worst part about it is that they're going to take the revenue stream off you to help feed them. It's pretty expensive to feed a lot of dogs, but I mean that's fine. Everyone's got that expense on their plate if they've got pets and stuff. But if it all goes down, our dogs will definitely stay with us for sure.
Yeah, I suppose that just highlights the passion you have for those dogs.
That's right.
Yeah, they're not expendable.
No, they're not. They're not expendable. They're not all rehomeable either, and that's just fact. They're not all rehomeable. Some of them haven't got the right attitude to be a pet. Most of them are fantastic.
Oh, I will wrap it up there. Thank you very much, Ben, for coming in today and for explaining to us about greyhounds. And obviously, I think your passion for greyhounds shines through. We'll see how this legislation goes. It might be up for debate this year, so
Hope not.
yeah, we'll see how it goes. And good luck with the campaign. So that's the end of the broadcast for today. Look, if you really like this sort of content where we dig deeper into these issues, then make sure you like and subscribe. Tell everybody about the broadcast. And until next time, thanks for watching and listening.